Welcome to Mindful Pathway. Today we're going to be talking about what sits at the edge of psychology, spirituality, and the human lived experience. We're talking about the evolution of intuition. Now, how does someone go from a corporate life in a corporate world into intuitive healing and eventually even mediumship? There's a journey there, and we're going to be exploring that today with a lady named Dani, who Marissa will introduce formally.
Today we are joined by Dani Van de Velde, a meditation teacher, Reiki Master, the author of Spirited and Psychic Medium. Besides that, she is also the founder of Spirited Living and Spirited Business online communities. And if that wasn't enough, she's also the broadcaster on News for the Soul Radio and the host of her podcast, The Modern Crone. Dani's studies include advanced mediumship, which we'll be discussing a little bit today. So for everyone who is not very familiar what mediumship is, this is like your time to tune in. And we are also going to be talking about Dani's work, which really sits at the center of a commitment to empowering self-trust, inner authority, and embodied wisdom. We're so excited for this conversation today. Thank you so much for joining us today, Dani Van de Velde.
Thank you, guys. It's such a pleasure to be here and all the topics that I love. So let's go.
Well, Dani, this is especially exciting for me because we've known each other quite a while. It's been about 11 years on this journey, side by side or in each other's realms at least at times. Yeah. I've been a big follower of yours from that first meditation class I took 11 years ago. I sat with 17 women and me in a class.
Just you.
I think I got the wrong memo. I don't think men were included. But
you
somehow
seem pretty at ease to me.
She allowed me to be in the class, and they all accepted me. So I had a great time, learned a lot. And she was sharing words and concepts, things that would blow anyone's mind. I mean, but it was all cultural. It was all, historic Sanskrit terminologies, things she was learning in her yoga practice and then passing on to us as a teacher.
Yep.
That was just the beginning. Then we went into intuitive healing, Reiki work. All of these I've trained under Dani. Mm-hmm. Then we went into even shape-shifting.
Yep, we did. So that's evolved now. We're about to start again.
Great.
Big global community on the equinox.
Right.
Yep, but that's right. You did a few rounds with me in that.
She has a huge community in Singapore, a huge following. Brilliant concept that she's created, great work she's doing. So let's dive in and hear all about it.
So where do you want to start?
So let's start with the beginning.
Okay.
How did you go from the corporate world into this work you're doing now?
Okay, so a lot of people, when they have a big divert or redirect in their life, it's usually because of burnout or some kind of massive life event that makes them, reconsider what they're doing with their life. But it wasn't really like that for me. It was about meaning and a sense of purpose. And I loved my career. I was doing really well. I was based in London and spent time in New York, and I enjoyed what I was doing. I was doing organisational change and global communications, and I loved it. And but just more and more, it was kind of like this growing feeling that it was becoming more meaningless, and I need meaning. I need a sense of purpose to be able to deliver and perform, and I need to feel. And I always say that sort of passion and purpose are twins, So where there's a real sense of purpose for me, there's a real feeling of passion, and that's when, like all of us, we do our best work. So the sense of meaning was kind of sliding, but I was also on a really good wicket. I was getting paid very well. I had a really lovely lifestyle. And so I stalled on making the decision to leave corporate life because of that, because of the money, I guess, and the lifestyle, but also because I wasn't exactly sure what it was that I was supposed to be doing.
Was it like a calling back then, or was there a voice? What was happening in your body and your mind at that time?
Well, there was a lot of, in my private life, and always has been from when I was little, a lot of exploration spiritually. So big questions, lots of books being digested with a ravenous appetite. Lots of circles, I was pretty much sort of finding my way. I didn't really have a teacher guiding me at that stage. So that was very much part of my private life, and then I put the sort of designer suit on Monday morning in the heels and clip-clop into work in London. But it did become the dissonance between the two, sort of cognitive and I think energetic, did start to play out. So and I talk about this quite a lot because I think it's really interesting, is I started losing my voice a lot.
Okay.
And I don't get sick. I'm not a sickly sort of person. But every time I'd sort of come back from a trip or something and have to go back into the office, I'd lose my voice.
Really?
And I always find it really interesting that most of what I do is around teaching, my voice expression, writing, broadcasting, doing stuff like this. And it was almost like my voice checked out of the arena before the rest of me did, which I think is fascinating, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And then eventually I did leave, and I floated around a little bit for a while, but I got a fantastic payout because I was offered a redundancy, which I do believe was part of a magical action that I was working on. And I know we're going to get into manifesting.
Yeah,
My favourite topic. And I applied a manifestation operation to exiting work, and what resulted was I was offered a redundancy, and that assuaged all concerns about finances, and it gave me 2 years in London just going headfirst into the esoteric scene in London, which is deep and fabulous.
Is that when you found Jung and a few others?
It was my early entree into Jung, and then later I started doing courses at the School of Applied Jungian Studies online, which I love, and I highly recommend as well. But reading Jung, absolutely, and seeing all these affinities between Jung and other esoteric frameworks, and later found out that Jung was a really avid alchemist, a studier of alchemy and astrology as well. So he was a magic man too. And of course, he was the first to coin the law of synchronicity, which got him rejected from the Western psychological scene at the time, which now we all accept, that we can see patterns of information and experiences around us that are actually informing our inquiry, you know. So he was really ahead of his time.
Is that how you would define synchronicity, or would you have a broader definition of synchronicity?
Oh my goodness. Well, I guess the way that I would describe synchronicity is that it is observable thematic synchronicities in events, conversations. It can be in your inner life, like your dreaming and your revelation. That on the outside looking in do not look related, but because you have a frame of reference of meaning with your inner inquiry, you can see that they're all related. And what I find beautiful about the law of synchronicity is that it's one of the it's evidence that our inner world and inquiry and applied meaning and our outer world of experience are more than linked. I would say that they're mirroring each other.
And the collective unconscious.
And the collective unconscious. So it's all one beautiful hologram. And, you know, this really is the work of magic. You know, it's...
When she tells it like this, then it gives me clarity, because how many of us, right, have seen synchronicity in our life? And we're wondering, how is this possible? How could they have known? How did I meet this person right now? And so everyone knows. Everyone's experienced it. Everyone gets curious. And that's probably about that age, right? 20s, they're starting to see these things. They have the intelligence to know to seek out answers. And so on that journey, I guess it'll take you different directions.
Yeah, absolutely. But we can easily dismiss it. I think we can easily dismiss these synchronous experiences. Like, you know, you hear of a lot of people going, oh, I saw 111 on the clock, or I keep waking up at 333, or the numbers are very common. And they are synchronicities. But unless you've got like an inner inquiry where you've got a frame of reference, then they're kind of moot. But because they're happening all the time, but if you've got an actual frame of reference, like what I would call a magical operation in play, where you are applying your inner and your outer actions to manifesting something, then those synchronicities become very, very informative. They become wayfinders. They give you clues as to what energy is at play, and not just numbers, but like different conversations where the same book is suggested to you 3 or 4 times within a week, and you go, okay, I definitely need to read that book. You know, it becomes synchronicities become a very vibrant dialogue with the universe.
Right.
But not many people have the frame of reference. Not many people apply their mind and their inquiry quite deliberately to a spiritual operation.
Right.
I think it's a good point that you bring in this frame of reference that many people don't have that.
Yep.
So what would you say, how do you build a frame of reference? Where do you start?
Well, I think spirituality, in the main, not in my communities, but in the main, is seen as a kind of a waffly sort of maybe something that's part of us. A lot of people equate it to religion, which is not necessarily like religions. Religious structures are a way of channeling and giving I guess a pathway of exploration, but spirituality is innate, it's very natural. And so to create a frame of reference is to what I would say is approach a spiritual inquiry quite clinically. And I'll just give a small example. So I'm writing my second book at the moment, and I'm referencing Australian Indigenous characters in there. And I want to do it well. And so what that requires for me to do is go into consultation with First Nations people that are related to the areas that I'm writing about. And that's not a very clear process. And it's been concerning me. And so I've been applying a spiritual operation to that pathway opening up for me easily. Now, it doesn't mean I'm passive, so it doesn't mean I'm sitting around going, right, a First Nations elder from Uluru is going to ring me. Like, I need to be active in it. But I had a beautiful experience last Friday, and I do these dawn meditations on Friday mornings for charity. And it was a lovely small group. It's only about 6 women, and we're under the Merline, and we're doing sun gazing. So, and I was explaining to the ladies there that we can use these natural fields as a kind of a treatment, like a medicine. So if we set the intention and we think about what does the dawn feel like, so it feels like illumination, it's a new day birthing, so there's newness in it, there's possibility in it, there's light coming in, there's darkness or non-clarity receding. So what I asked them to do was set an intention of something in your life, whether it's something at work or a relationship or something that you're trying to figure out yourself, and participate in the dawn like it's medicine. So in my heart, I set the dawn medicine to light up the path to a First Nations contact or clarity on how I do. It's called Indigenous Cultural Intellectual Property, ICPI. That's what you need to consult on. And that's what I treated with the dawn.
Yeah.
Very clinically, very consciously. We came out of the meditation, we were all sharing, what the experience was. And the woman sitting next to me, who's a senior educator at one of the schools here, she said, I've just come back from this conference in Bangkok and there was a speaker there and she kept reminding me of you and I think you'd love her. Anyway, she's an Indigenous woman from Australia and she lectures around the world on the Indigenous lens in schools and education. And I think you would have an affinity with her. And I was like, ding.
Wow.
Yeah, there it is.
That's a perfect example.
That's a really good example. So if I was flustered or parking that sort of worry about finding the right consultation process, it's quite possible that conversation might not have happened. Interestingly, she was a last-minute registration, so she registered very late the night before, and so I was worried that I didn't get her the organisational details, so it was sort of like impulsive for her. I think all of that's quite telling. We ended up sitting next to each other, and she'd just come back from hearing this woman speak. So that kind of confluence of, and we might call it coincidence, but if you've got an applied operation in play, it becomes synchronous and it becomes worth following. So I got this woman's website, I emailed her, and we've got a meeting set up in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
And she's excited to help
Amazing.
me. So
That's synchronicity and anything else, as you call the clinical approach, where
Yeah.
you apply
exactly,
intention and manifestation.
Yeah, I do. And I say that with my clients as well. Like, even if it's something really simple, like they're working on being able to regulate their nervous system, and I give them tools to work with. And we know, you guys know, this is your field, that the only way that you can establish a life-ward habit is through repetition. You've just got to do it, right? It's like training. And they go, oh, I can't have time. And I said, well, that's okay. If you don't make time for it, you'll remain frazzed.
Yeah.
But if you want to change your operating system, you need to make time for it and treat it like it's training. And I say to them, treat it like a spiritual experiment. Get a journal, write in your journal, this month I am building my ability to regulate my nervous system through these pranayama techniques, and keep a log.
Yeah.
Every day, the date, how long you did it for, what was the practice, how did you feel? And you get that witnessing mode, you make it objective, you bring it out of the murk of your mind, and that's why I'm a massive proponent of journaling. And then it becomes a thing, and it becomes a frame of reference, and then you can measure your progress, or you can measure your manifestations. Rather than you thinking, oh, did I kind of make that up? Or, you know, you have to make it objective.
It makes a lot of sense, right? Because we talked about it last week, that healing, any form of healing, relies on several things. One of them is intention, as in the outcome you want. The second is the process, belief in the process.
Yep.
And belief in the person or thing you're kind of working from as a teacher or mentor or doctor or whatever. So in that act you're describing, you know, you have the intention in front of you, you have a trusted or belief in that process.
Yep.
And then you have the belief in either the person you're following who taught you this or the thing you're trying to accomplish.
Absolutely.
In terms of that, you know.
Because it creates then an openness for possibility. But for a lot of people, I think that belief, like, you know, is it real? Is it really going to work? And that's why I like the term a spiritual experiment, where you just clip it down and you just say, give it a month, and if it doesn't work, ditch it, and we'll try something else.
And I think one thing that you mentioned is also, you're not just a passive bystander. You need to be active in making that change happen for yourself.
Absolutely.
It's not that it's wishful thinking. You're putting your thought out there, you're putting intention towards it, and then you see how all of these pieces fall into place. And I think lots of people also think about manifesting as wishful thinking, or just saying, oh, okay, I would like to have this in my life, but they're not actively taking proactive steps towards reaching their goals in the first place.
Absolutely. I agree with that. Yeah, you do. How many of us have done a beautiful vision boarding workshop and then nothing happens, right?
So in your words, what do you need to do to manifest things into your life, or the life that you want to live? For many people, it's also not material things. It's not like a house or a car that they want. They want to feel better. They want to find meaning, find purpose. So how can they bring manifesting, or what is manifesting in your words?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and it's quite a big answer. So
We have time.
try and cut it down. So I do think there are elements, just like you outlined, Glenn, there, where there is a paradigm shift that's required. There are smarts that are required, like some tools, and then there's engagement that's required if you're going to generate any kind of change. And manifesting is exactly the same. So the paradigm shift is multi-layered, but the significant one is changing your understanding of what life is and who you are. And that the universe is intelligent and responsive, and we are naturally designed to engage and create. And that's like the basic premise. And with that comes a flip on the understanding that life isn't happening to you, it's happening for you, and it's actually issuing from you.
Right.
So we have the Hermetic law. I love the Hermeticism. I absolutely love it. So I use the 7 Hermetic laws as a means of helping people shift that paradigm about the true nature of life and the true nature of the self. And one of the Hermetic laws is the law of cause and effect, that we ostensibly are causal and what we experience is the effect. It's not linear. So I can imagine people listening to this going, well, I didn't cause my cancer. So it's not linear, but we do know, and we also know now from mind-body studies and the energetic, the biology of belief and these kind of narratives that how we think has a massive impact on our body, massive. Right. And we know that the body operates as an intelligent system which could be seen as an extension of the mind. But magic and manifesting takes it a little bit further, because what it's talking about is that the field of potential in which we operate, all things are possible within that, and it's us that determines the patterning which then eventually substantiates into experience. So the way that I explain it is the same way that I explain how we do psychic reads. So I do psychic development classes with a global group of psychics every week, which is so fun. And it's just wonderful to watch them work and read accurately other people on the other side of the world.
These are people from all over the world, I guess.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, it's fantastic. It's really. Well, I do a morning one, and then the following week I do an evening one, so we get a lovely mix. But the way that I explain either manifesting or psychic reading is that, you know, our existence is like one big, lovely, big field of pure potential. And then it's like a funneling effect as it comes into phenomenon and experienced phenomenon. And what funnels it is patterning of energy and information. And we do the patterning. So through what we believe, what we say, the words that we use, the choices that we make, what we're afraid of, all of these emanating forces generate patterning. The more we repeat it, the more emotional charge that's within it, the stronger the pattern becomes, and therefore it will manifest as an experience. So it sort of funnels down from pure potential into possibility, then probability, then phenomenon. And so a good psychic will be able to read patterning before it's happened. So people will say to me, they'll ring me later and go, how did you know that was going to happen? Or how did you know I would fall pregnant next month? Or how did you know that? And it looks like fortune telling, but it's not.
Okay.
It's being able to sense patterns around us. Everything is a pattern. We're a pattern of energy and information. And manifesting works the same way. So the way, and what I like to do is incorporate spellcraft and ritual into my manifesting course, because it's very evocative. There's not any sort of like, if you move into a ritual very deeply, your logical mind doesn't have a role in it. And so you can very readily generate a strong, collusive pattern. And we've got this lovely saying in magic, you know, the anima mundi loves a rhyme. So the anima mundi is the soul of the world. It's the intelligence. If you've seen I'm sure you guys would have definitely seen the movie The Matrix, right?
Oh, yeah.
And the coding that's behind the hologram, that's the anima mundi. It's the coding. And it loves a rhyme. So it will organise itself around what patterning we are emanating.
Interesting.
A very important part of manifesting is ensuring that within us we are emanating a lovely, clear pattern that doesn't have dissonance in it. So a big part of my manifesting course that I teach, before we do any ritual, before we do any spell casting, we get super clear on the goal. What are we manifesting? So that's the frame of reference. How are we going to know when it's manifested? So if it's sort of like a material goal, like which people, I've been running this process for a decade, so people want to manifest the love of their life. They want to manifest a new career opportunity. They want to manifest a new home. So if it's a material goal, the measure's quite simple. You're either in love with someone and you want to be with them for the rest of your life, or you're not, right? You're either got the new job offer or you don't. If it's an internal goal, which is to open up my psychic senses, to master magic, to unleash my creativity in ways that can be expressed in meaningful ways, and we've had all of those kind of goals as well, then you do need to define your measures around that. How are you really going to know? That's the first step.
Can this include healing as well? Like if someone wants to manifest clarity or healing from a conflict or whatever?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll get into that because there's a difference between direct and indirect magic. So remind me.
Okay.
So when you're dealing with other people, you obviously need to be very clear on that, so you're not augmenting their free will. So once you've got your goal and your measures, the next step really is to go through how aligned with them are you. And so this is a process in magic called metanoia. So, and what metanoia means in Greek is reversing the flow. So rather than our actions and our thoughts being governed by unconscious beliefs and fears, we flip it. And in the context of what we want to manifest, we explore, what do we truly believe about this possibility? What do we truly believe that it's possible that we can have that reality in our lives? And we go through these really clever journaling exercises that flush out any beliefs that would create a distortion. And then what are we afraid of? So if we are living the reality that we're manifesting, what are we secretly afraid is going to happen? Because a lot of people have that and they don't realise. So they might go, oh, I want to make $1 billion in the next 5 years, let's say. But they do hold fears around what would that happen to their family life? What would that expose them? Would they be vulnerable to exploitation? You know, and unless they uncover those secret fears, they're going to create a distorted pattern. And very often you do hear stories of people that manifest a kind of a half or slightly distorted result. And I always say, go back to how aligned and clear your emanation mechanism is, because if there's any distortion in there around beliefs or fears, and our fears can come as well from our family of origin.
So this could be like someone who wants to be rich, but they heard from their Sunday school class that money is the root of all evil.
And it corrupts you,
so then
and it's dirty. Or they may have a really sort of limited vessel on being able to hold what abundance is, because they grew up in a super frugal house where you saved for a rainy day and you only wore the good clothes on Sunday, kind of thing. And we've all got that. We've all got those scripts. And so a lot of that family of origin and culture of origin stuff will come out in the metanoia process. And that's when, once we've got some clarity, we've got all our junk on the table around our goal, that's when we set to task with ritual and spell casting. We banish the grip of the stuff which is preventing the goal from manifesting. And then we spell cast and we use ritual to magnetise the goal to us. And it's super fun. So
it sounds amazing.
Yeah, we have a lot of sharing, like I've got the contract, I've got the movie deal. Like there's been really big stuff that people have brought in, and very beautiful stuff too, like self-love. Like people come into it that have really, really hated themselves from that last devastating relationship or what they grew up with, and they've liberated themselves from self-loathing. Like it's absolutely gorgeous, and there's a lot of camaraderie.
Because you need to let go of all of these fears, but lots of people don't know what their fears are, and it really brings you clarity once you're, like you said, if you can bring it on black and white, if you journal about it, if you really ask through certain prompts of like, what is holding me back? What is holding me back from achieving these goals that I want to achieve and that are important to me? But then there's like something just blocking them
Yep.
of like moving forward.
Yep.
And that interesting thing, indirect and direct, how do you manifest if other people are involved? Like you
Yeah.
say, like healing or healing from trauma, or maybe like bringing somebody into your life. Like you say, lots of people are feeling lonely.
Yep.
They want to find a partner. Lots of people have the fear that they will never find the right one.
Yep.
So how do you bring that into your life?
So there are lots of different frames to explain magic. You know, there's the left path and the right path and the middle path and the red path and the black path and the direct and the indirect path. Direct magic is when you apply a magical operation to someone else.
Okay.
So you, like a love spell is a really good example. And in my observation and in my experience of trial and error, they never end well. And there's a number of reasons for that. First of all, you are possibly breaching the law of free will. And it's for the same reason when I teach my healers, I say that they must have permission before they send energy healing or give energy healing or even do a psychic read, because you are blending your energy in with the energy of the other person. Certainly distance healing, as you would know, Glenn, because you understand it as well. You don't want to be sending distance Reiki to someone who's doing 200 Ks on the Autobahn in Germany. It's like it's dangerous as well.
Yeah.
But direct magic, you may, let's say that you're a very powerful mage and you know what you're doing, okay? And direct magic is possible. I'm not saying it's not possible, but let's say I do a love spell on you, Glenn, and then you all of a sudden go, Dani, I've known you for 11 years and I never realised I'm deeply in love with you. He's enchanted. It's not real.
Okay.
And it requires a lot of energy to maintain it. And when it fades,
meaning to keep me on
to
that.
keep you enchanted.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when it fades, there's terrible sort of manipulation obviously involved with that. And also as the mage, I could never really trust. Is
it
Glenn
real?
really in love with me or is it just my powerful magic? You know, so my view and the way I explain it to my students when we get started on this is I believe direct magic creates a karmic debt. So, and which needs to be repaid in some way, whether it be through your life force or through your other experiences of love or so on. So it's not an area that I like to go in, and it's kind of, I see it as a kind of a low form of magic. Indirect magic is where you manifest a result in your life through changing what you're holding within, which is preventing it from being experienced. So the idea here is that let's say a love spell. So let's say that you really want to experience beautiful unconditional love. You want to meet someone that you can strap your wagon to, that respects you, that gives you space, but also is just your perfect partner. But for some reason, it just has passed you by in your life. Now, I would say in the indirect magic frame, you're afraid of something or you believe that it's not possible. There's a metanoia process you need to go through. And once you do that and you shift whatever you're holding within, that the love that you're wanting will manifest. That's indirect magic. So we're the cause and the experience is the effect. Where this becomes really fun and also where it's really useful to do it in a group is coming back to the law of synchronicity. So especially if you're going through metanoia, and the people that have some people have done this process with me for like 10 years, right? So they know what's coming up. They go, it's fear week next week, right?
Okay.
So I brace, it's fear week, because what happens when you're engaging in a magical process is just as your causal and your experience reality is the effect. Similarly, if you are holding the intention to raise into the surface to your awareness what you're afraid of around your goal, you're going to start experiencing events that trigger that fear.
Okay.
Because as within, so without. So if you can read it that way, you accelerate your magic. If you go into ninja fighting reactivity because that old wound or whatever has been sparked, you're just hook weaving in the same pattern.
Yeah.
Could you give us an example in some ways just so that people could...
What's an example I can give you? I'm just trying to think of some of the beautiful manifestations last year.
By the way, this is her style of teaching, which is always fun because she uses like ninja and moves, and she like explains things in a way that people can really grasp and really connect with.
So let's go. Let's continue with this example of love, okay, of manifesting love, which is the lovely thing. I think we've got a few people wanting to do that this round as well, which is gorgeous. So let's just say you are trying to explore within your inner work what fears you're holding around falling in love. And you could probably, from your own experience and from your observations with your friends, you could probably list them, right? So fear of being betrayed, fear of overexposure, being vulnerable, and then being breached or betrayed in some way. Fear of another really common one I see with my clients that are manifesting love is the fear of losing their independence, which is interesting. So there's some kind of belief that a lot of people hold that if you fall in love, you lose your independence as a person and you lose your identity. That's very common.
Lose your mind.
yeah, exactly. So what will happen is that if you are still single, you're in a magical process, you're going through metanoia, you've uncovered some sort of beliefs that may have been formed by observing your parents and observing love around you and with your friends and so on. And now you're moving into fear week. So we're going into what are you really afraid of? What may happen are some of the things that are currently a blind spot for you.
Yeah.
So you may get asked out on a date and the date turns out to be like a horrible person, or they don't show up, they ghost you or whatever. Okay, so these aren't very nice
being vulnerable, then.
experiences.
Fear week is being vulnerable.
Exactly. And also understanding that what you're experiencing that's triggered a strong emotional response is the universe showing you what you're not aware of in your magical process. And the best way to be able to see that is if you've got a community. That's you know, we're very confidential. We agree that what happens in Mind and Magic stays in Mind and Magic, and we have fortnightly calls. And so everyone has an opportunity to go, man, this thing happened and I nearly ripped their eyes out. And you go, whoa, 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 but didn't you say that you were exploring that? And you're like, yeah, I did. Go, well, isn't that showing you that you've got a belief here around that? Yes, it is. So it's the mirroring in a community is really important, I think.
It's also very is supportive. It sounds like
great.
a supportive environment.
Yep.
And I think it also gives you then the strength to keep going, to not going back into your old patterns, like you say.
Yep.
That can happen as well, that you get reminded, I can overcome this. I am deserving of the goal that I have set for myself.
Yeah, absolutely. And also I'm powerful.
Yeah.
Because I'm setting the intention to understand what I'm secretly afraid of, and now my life has just rippled it in my face. That's powerful. So along with the magical stuff, they have a lot of beautiful tools they can work with where they do trigger tracking.
Okay.
So every week you look at what really tipped you, what triggered you, and we track it and map it and see the theme that's coming through for them. We do sync mapping as well. So we look at synchronicities.
Is this with your shield maidens, or which group is this with?
Mind and Magic. So the old shape-shifting.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
So they've got all these lovely tools, again, to look at a little bit more clinically. And then, of course, we've got the group calls, which is, but it's really affirming. And they're also loaded up with a lot of tools to soothe and calm, you know, like especially around relationship and love, there's some old wounds, you know, that come up. And so they're given a lot of beautiful practices and support and mentoring to walk them through pain that surfaces. But it needs to come up and out for them to be able to manifest what they want. And then I've got great psychotherapists on the side that I refer people to if it's a really serious trauma that needs a stronger scaffolding to work with, so that people are very supported through it. Yeah.
And likewise, when we're having a client who needs something beyond what we can offer, sometimes they need to go on a journey where they feel supported and they're learning something more about their higher state of consciousness that they hadn't
Yeah.
even thought of yet. So then it's easy to
Yeah.
send them your way.
Yeah, it's
knowing
nice.
I can trust you, you'll know what to do with them and how to
Yeah.
nurture them forward.
Yeah, no, it's lovely. Yeah, we've been doing that for a long time now, haven't we?
Yep.
Yeah. I think it's important, you know, like there are some clients that come to see me for healing that may have had some really serious, like systemic abuse right from when they were very little. And there's an instability and a fear there that absolutely requires a psychological framework to start with. But then there are other clients that maybe are dealing with a diagnosis of advanced chronic disease or cancer, and talk therapies doesn't work for them. And so, you know, cancer specialists will send their clients to me as well, where Reiki and some of these broader conversations around visualization and how to work with the mind-body connection are more useful for them.
Yeah, we've used Reiki to help people even with fertility issues as well.
That's fun.
Maybe for listeners who are not very familiar with, because I think this is a huge fear that many people have about cancer, about things that are happening to their health, and how this spiritual work can benefit them, how that can help them. Because I think lots of people are trying to approach things from a very medical and rational point of view.
Yeah.
So could you maybe explain a little bit how Reiki or how spirituality and how magic can help them in their healing journey?
Particularly with physical conditions.
Yes.
Yeah. So I would, I'm an Usui Reiki Master, and Glenn's trained with me. And Reiki, for your listeners that don't know what it is, Reiki is a Japanese word. It's actually made of two words. So Rei is universal and Ki is energy, universal energy. And it's regarded as intelligent, and it's also regarded as the primary frequency of life. And within the primary frequency of life is harmony. And so the way that energy healers would view a chronic disease is that the system is in disharmony. And so what's wonderful about Reiki is you don't necessarily need to be anatomically trained. You do pick a lot of that up on the way, because the Reiki informs where it's going, and the practitioner will have an understanding of that. So I've picked up a lot of medical information intuitively, but I'm not a practicing doctor. But what Reiki does is it brings harmony to where there's disharmony. And it does result in physical healing. You know, I've been doing it for a long time, and I've seen some amazing stuff happen. It results in psychological healing as well. There has to be a receptivity from the client. So if someone comes in and they're blocked and they go, my wife told me to be here and I don't, I quite like welcoming those clients, because I like the challenge. And also Reiki is a very felt form of energy, you know, so you can't deny that you have felt something, that your consciousness is altered. I mean, sometimes we get very physical. We have people that are asleep on the bed, but there's a lot of juddering going on with their body. Not always, but sometimes. Always tears, usually. So crying is a form of healing. It's a form of the system releasing tension and disharmony. That's super common. I even have people that walk in my healing room and they start crying because I Reiki the room before clients come in. So the whole room is like a field of healing energy. And so that's principally what it is. It doesn't come from the practitioner, it comes through us.
That's a good way to put it. That's an important point to make.
It's a really important point to make. So a large part of the training is just learning to get yourself out of the way. And then there are codes within Reiki called symbols, where a good practitioner can bring through a particular frequency within the field of Reiki. And some of those symbols are around power and impetus and self-confidence and grounding. Some of those symbols are around mental and emotional disharmony, and some of those symbols facilitate distance healing. And the distance can be geographical or it can be on timelines as well.
Yeah.
Whew,
Fascinating.
it is.
I think it's a good way to also maybe help for those folks who hear the word spell, they get confused by it, they think it's in a certain realm of dark or whatever. And so if we think about a spell versus what you just described, they're quite similar.
Yeah, very similar.
We're
Yeah.
using a language and a culture and a rhyme in
Yes.
a way to activate energy that's already in the field.
Yep.
We're just channeling it, moving it, shifting it, working with it.
Yep.
So it's the
I
same
love that.
thing, just in a different name. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but the principles are the same, you know, and again in Taoist energy work as well, which I love. Like there is a beautiful saying, "I Dao Qi Dao," which is the bumper sticker version of that is energy flows where attention goes, right? But I is more than just a thought. I is is intention and attention. And so it's a much fuller movement of will and clarity, and life force will follow that track. And that's what Reiki does.
Right.
So Reiki, with its symbols and its beautiful framework, and it's very evocative, and it's got these gorgeous energy practices, but it's training the practitioner's mind to meld intention and attention, and the life force will naturally flow that way. I mean, in my level 2 training, I do an exercise to evidence this, and I get the students to do a very focused meditation on one of their hands. So, and I make it very evocative. So feel your right thumb and your right finger, and feel the energy in your palm, and feel the skin on the back and the skin on the front. And I try to give them words to help them entrain their intention and attention there. Before we start that meditation, I get them to line up the wrist lines and see the symmetry with the hands. And then after the meditation, I get them to do that again. And the hand that they're directing the energy to is notably bigger. Like I'm making that happen.
Yeah.
But like that, it's a different colour. And the reason for that is blood follows chi.
Yeah.
So they put their I on a hand, the chi or the life force follows it, and the blood will track to the chi. And what they've basically shown themselves they can do is engorge a hand with blood with their mind.
Yeah.
And I like using that exercise because it gives them something they can actually see.
Yeah.
And
I
feel.
don't mind
And
doing
feel.
spoon bending as well. We do spoon. Well, we don't in the Reiki. We didn't do spoon bending,
I don't
did
think
we?
so. No, I don't think so.
No, but I do like teaching spoon bending because it achieves the same thing. So if you entrain your mind and your intention, you can fill a fork with life force with the intention of bending it like butter, and that's a lot of fun to do. And you see people just go, "Well, what did I just do that?" And then they can't bend it back because they've broken the attention. So.
You want to sign up for the class, don't you?
Absolutely. You
Yeah.
can see it in my eyes,
Yeah, we'll-
right?
we'll
That's
bend
like
some
the sparkle
spoons.
is here. You have sold me. I'm totally signing up for this class. I'm like really, really
It's
interested.
really fun.
And I'm sure it's not just me, it's our listeners as well. So maybe can you share with us, how can listeners get in touch with you? How can they start their own magical journey?
Okay.
Well, before we go there,
Okay.
something important.
Yes.
I think we need to bring back to the original question you asked a long time ago. Remember, she asked about how does one start that journey, right?
Yep.
So I think if we put it all together, it starts with curiosity,
Yes.
right? Someone who's a young, budding corporate executive in the world,
Yeah.
you know,
Or an old, crusty
Yes.
retiree. It doesn't
or
really matter.
that, or even
Any age.
or even a very mature 13, 14-year-old, right?
Yep. Yep.
So they're curious. They see the world in front of them. They get curious. Then they have this intention. So the
Yes.
you got E.
Yeah.
So they get this intention to go on this journey, and then I think the next step is awareness. So which can be the beginning of attention, right?
Yep.
So awareness is where we open up to our senses and open up to everything that's going on and start to listen So the synchronicity now has a voice. Because
Yep.
if you don't listen, you're not going to hear it, right?
Yep.
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 So you get that voice, you hear the call,
You see the signs.
you get the attention to
the
that. You take that
guidance,
devotion, that discipline. You follow the mentor,
Yeah.
and then it just starts to naturally
Yeah.
take shape.
And then you start getting evidence.
Yeah,
So and once you start getting evidence, you never go back to reactive
Right,
living.
right.
You because you know that the universe is intelligent and responsive. What I would add, that's a great summary, Glenn, and I may borrow that for my marketing for Mind and Magic coming up. Thank you.
we learned it together.
Yeah. It's impossible to do any of this stuff if you're dysregulated.
Yeah.
So, and that's why I have such an emphasis on breathwork and meditation, and as a daily ritual, a daily habit, because if you're fried, you're on high alert, you're waiting for something bad to happen, you're catastrophizing, your body's not well, it's very, very difficult to be able to concentrate and direct your life force into generating stuff. So, first port of call is I get people started on some kind of very simple spiritual practice, and that's a must because it's impossible otherwise.
And she has quite a few offerings. There's the dawn meditation. There's Women's
Yeah.
Circle last night. So there's lots of opportunities. Just sitting in one gives you your first taste of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Can you share with us how people can start their journey with you?
Yeah, so I thank you. Shameless plugging, I love it.
No, it's-
So I produce a lot of guided meditation tracks, which is streamable for free on the Insight Timer app. And I put a lot of work into those. And I've got a musician, there's a lot of editing, I craft them, I meditate to them before I release them. They're very, very popular. And so they're streamable for free on Insight Timer. You just download the app, look up Danielle Van de Velde, and you'll find my portfolio.
Danielle.
Yeah, yes,
Okay.
very formal on that one. If you prefer self-paced and you like a bit of guidance, there's meditation there. To find me for a session, I do have a bit of a lead time, so I tend to get booked out a few months in advance. But you can find that on daniellevandevelde.com. And I do have coaching containers as well, one-on-one coaching, but currently they're all full. So there might be spaces that open up sort of April, May. Or you can join my online community, Spirited Living, which is where we are doing the Mind and Magic of Manifesting, which starts on the equinox on the 20th of March.
Which will be live group.
Yeah, it will be. So there's modules that are uploaded fortnightly, and then the weeks in between we come together on Zoom.
Okay.
So not in person, but
Okay.
it's a global community.
Okay. It starts in April.
It starts in March,
March.
20th of March on the equinox,
Okay.
always on the equinox.
Got it.
Yeah. So, and that is spiritedlivingwithdani.com. So I can give you all the links. Yeah.
Perfect.
Which is co-ed. There are men in there.
There are men in there. There
Yes,
are.
men are also invited, so it's not females only. Okay.
Absolutely.
Which is kind of appreciated, right? I think the women probably like a little bit of the male energy in there, right? It's not...
I think it can be grounding, and I think it's always interesting to get the perspectives from different angles. I think it's useful as well. Yeah.
Danny, we have 100 questions on this script of mine that I didn't get to ask today. So I think we have to get you back for another episode.
love to.
Oh, yeah,
we
I'd
can
love
talk
to.
about many, many more topics in this realm, which I find
If she had the
fascinating.
time in her schedule, it's
Then
fine.
we'll need to put it into the
I will
schedule.
make the time. I love talking about this.
Thank
stuff.
you so much for sharing all of your insights on modern magic and how we can bring a little bit more intention and also attention into our lives.
And thank you for the work you're doing for so many people. We're talking about communities, but if you look at each person who's been personally affected and impacted and impressed upon in their life by you, it's just, I don't know, it's surely in the thousands, but then the people they affect as well. Because she also teaches teachers. So she'll
Yeah.
train other healers to go out and teach healing to others. So she's expanding the...
Yeah, my world domination plan. It is coming to fruition. Yeah, thanks,
You
Glenn.
deserve it.
I appreciate that. And but it comes back to your initial question. I think if you're really in the central stream of your purpose, then it's easy. It's not work, and I am busy, but I love it all. So, and I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about it in a bit more depth as well. So thank you, guys.
She's also living proof of what she preaches. So when people watch her life and they think, well, how could she possibly have this many talents and this many categories of this many fields, effective in all of them, successful in all of them, and still have energy for more? It has to come from somewhere. So, she used to ride a bicycle 4:30 a.m. every single day.
I still do.
Through town,
Yeah.
all the way down, all the way through all the streets, all the boardwalks, rivers, all the way to the
Yeah.
East Coast, where she'd meditate in the morning before anyone else was even awake.
Yeah, I
This was
still do.
You have
every
to
single
live
day.
what you preach.
Yeah, you do.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Thank you so much for your time, and we're looking forward to see you on another episode to talk about many, many different subjects. And also thank you so much for all of our listeners for tuning in into Mindful Pathway. Thank you.
And thank you, Dani, for the wild ride. It's been fun.
Thank you.
Let's keep going.
Peace, Glenn. Thanks, guys.